think in the last number of years, the total number of finishes in the trophy race, usually numbers, it's no greater than 12 or 15, depending on the wind conditions. Just to go, it proves how difficult and challenging it is.
Brad Mills, Brad is struggling, and he's out the big gear, he's over the top. Brad Mills has done it, ladies and gentlemen. The trophy race winner,
And welcome to the final podcast of 2024. We're wrapping it up with the glorious monument, the 47th East Trophy Race, a night which was brought about the beauty and the brutality of cycling, when history was made with Brad Mills taking out the 47th edition. And to run over the night and see and analyse and offer all the different perspectives, we're joined by the man who brings more joy to cyclists than Santa himself, Mr. John Sunday. Good evening, John.
I wish I could bring as much joy to my wife as I can to Sydney cyclists.
And also joining
Evening, Alexi, and how are you, Vaughan?
Well,
Good,
Vaughan is our own James Bond, Mr. Oddjob, when it comes to Tuesday night. So welcome, John and Vaughan, to this glorious finale for 2024. And what a night it was. Two separate races on the night, a little unusual for Tuesday night. We had the 47th trophy race, and we also had the 2024 trophy handicap, which is the B and C grade group. We might start with that tonight before moving to what is sitting behind us there on the screen, the victory of Brad Mills. But first of all, the B and C grade race, huge field, 70 starters across the two grades. John, what were you thinking?
Big night, and what an event. I mean, this Tuesday night has to go down in Tuesday night Heffron folklore, and it just took it to another level. And the big ingredient that took it up a notch, not only that it was the 47th edition, was the wind out of nowhere. 4:30, calm little sort of summery northeasterly blowing down the track, and at 6 o'clock on the dot, just as we start racing, the massive southerly comes in, and it comes in at 70 km an hour, and we only get a wind like that at Heffron, I swear, every 5 years. And so what a night for the 70 kilometre an hour southerly to blow in the night of the trophy race. And it was so brutal, wasn't it?
It was so windy that I think the drone, if Richard put it up, is now around the North Pole doing like Santa watch, because that's not coming back. Like, that is gone. That just got Vaughan. What were you able to stand on the hill, or were you just blowing back home?
Well, mate, the thing that I found amazing is just how quickly, when we were commentating, how quickly they exited the Squircle and we saw them go over the Pimple. It was like, boom, 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 boom. They was just there so fast. I've got some of the top speeds that they hit down that back straight. There's quite a few people in the top 10 of fastest ever back half of Heffron ever recorded. That wind, and just how quickly, as John said, how quickly it turned around. We're standing in there in the northeasterly going, this is going to be good. Big tailwind down the straight, they'll be hooting. And next thing, it was a block headwind up the straight and blowing its absolute tits off. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, early. I mean, look, last week I made the suggestion that it was C grade's race to lose, but that wind just annihilated any chance C grade had of winning. I mean, we were just crawling down the straight. There was speeds 25, 28 kilometers an hour down the straight. Like, riders were just.
It wasn't just the wind, mate. We had like a small piece of apparatus blowing onto the track there that caused a little bit of havoc.
I tell you, we've had some incidents in the last number of years at Heffron. We've had the containers just recently. We had the trucks. We had a fire one summer in the middle of the track, halfway through the race. Had the fire brigade had to turn up. And if you were there on Tuesday night, you'll notice all the flags in the background of the photo. And there's a trolley that we cart the flags down on before the race. We put the flags up, leave the trolley about 300 metres from the finish line, so it's ready to pack up after the race. It's embedded in sand on a grassy knoll, for God's sake. The thing, I don't know how much it weighs. It's massive. And the wind picks it up and blows it onto the straight. just a C grader coming down.
That's
I
right. It
mean,
was
who
just
would
like
pick that?
it was like a slow motion. It was like watching one of those Austin Powers movies with the guy who gets run over by the steamroller. Because everyone who's running slowly sees it coming, but we're also going so slow as well. And you're just kind of like, as it went into people. I think even second and third wheel, even though normally that'd be this horrendous crash, they were going so slow, they just basically hit the brakes and put their foot down. I think, unfortunately, one or two riders did hit the concrete. I don't think it was anything too bad. I saw one rider, he's just going to look like Two-Face for Christmas.
Well, that was Jamie Hodgkinson, and Jamie he loves Heffron. It's his I think it's his first year
Yeah, it
from
is
Dulwich
first
Hill,
year.
and spoke to Jamie today to get the incident report. Poor guy, and like you said, Alexi, one side of his quite a bit of skin off one side of his face. He went to hospital, rode home, cleaned himself up, went off to A&E, and fortunately was at A&E until like 3 a.m, and turned out he's got a little fracture in his thumb. So he's got a cast on, not a caster, like what do they call it? Those things that
Yeah, he's just got the big
a
thumbs up now.
splint. So his thumb's in a splint, and but he's Jamie's pretty cool about it. He understands that that's part of racing, but he just never expected to. He said maybe next time the lesson is not to be on the front.
Yeah, well,
And I said, well, that's okay until you're riding at the back, and then something happens, and then the lesson is not to be at the back. But no one could have foreseen that, and apologies really on behalf of the club.
oh, look, I don't think it's one of
sure.
those things that apologies are almost like, well, that was just an act of God.
It was just
I
it was just
mean,
unfortunate.
clearly, he
I
had his views. He
yeah,
sent the
I'm feeling
wind, and then I'll send a trailer. It was just like, what else can I throw at them?
yeah. Feel a bit sorry for Jamie. He's off to New Zealand on the weekend for 2 weeks riding. Unfortunately, he's not going to be doing too much riding, but he can't wait to get back. So that's a good attitude to have, Jamie, and we'll be there welcoming you back with open arms when you do decide to come back. And hey, just on that incident, well done to our commissaire on the night, Rick Jordan. What a great job. Remain calm. Closed the race down for the handicap just for that lap or so. Which enabled the trophy race to continue in the background and restarted it. And honestly, once it restarted, you sort of felt the race hadn't missed a beat.
Nah,
Yeah.
not at all. And so, Vaughan, what were B grade doing throughout the whole race there? They looked pretty organised. But this week, it was probably the Hydroplay riders who really seemed to be disrupting and driving the pace and perhaps setting the agendas.
Yeah, well, we have definitely had a plan, the players, but you're right. They lapped it between 3:01 and 3:04. The first lap was fast, and then 3:01 to 3:04 with every other lap until the last lap. Between 3:01 and 3:04. So super consistency. So, last week they were all over the shop. I think it was like a 22-second difference. Big wind, you would think you'd still have that sort of inconsistency in lap times, but no, it was between 3:01s and 3:04s. We wanted to get Ashley Bennett Freeman to the finish line for a flyer. Unfortunately, the ABF decided to chuck in a massive attack, go across the C grade on his own when young Leif, who is just, I think, one of the best finds of this so far this season at the Detour Summer Series. He'd already gone, Ingwersen, he'd already gone across to the B grade, the C grade group, and then ABF went across as well. And so that changed things up a little bit. And to be honest, I sort of, for the first time in my commentating history, I sort of called it. I saw Benny Glastonbury moving up. He sort of sat at the back and kept a pretty clean nose for most of the race, and he looked fresh. And knowing Benny G like we do, he's got a massive engine, and I knew that back straight he could actually turn and burn. But what we have to talk about, which I think was one of the rides of the night, was the old man in his 40th season, Greg Rule last lap flyer.
What I thought was funny about that was Crafty you and Crafty were commentating just after the race had finished, saying, "Oh, I didn't pick that. I didn't pick that," and I said, "I did." I mean, that move by Ruley, that is playbook 101 from way back. You hit him hard in the tailwind and hope like hell you've got the strength to get down that straight into the headwind. And he almost pulled it off. And even Benny said it was panic stations, wasn't it?
Well, I've got some amazing data on this because I said that the last lap flyer was going to happen. The thing that I didn't pick because I didn't think it was going to be Ruley. So Chapo Ruley, that was excellent. But have a listen to this. So Big Ads McCoy was third, right? So we had Glennie Gads to be first, Greg Rule second, and Adam McCoy. They hit the start of the straight, all doing 50 k's an hour. So at the start of the straight, they were all doing 50 k's an hour. By the halfway point of the straight, Craig Rule was down to 38 k's an hour. Ads McCoy was doing 45 and Benny was doing 47. And when Benny went across the line, he was still doing 45 k's an hour. Greg Rule had slowed down to nearly a 32 and Ads had slowed down to a 36. So Big Ads just had that. Big Benny G just had that diesel pumping and he just kept on going. It was a brilliant win, I think.
It was interesting because I think Greg Rule actually followed the move of Luke Cruikshank, who'd done it the previous lap when he'd gone. But going back a few laps, what do you think Leif was thinking? I'll go across, because clearly the catch was going to happen. There was never any doubt in my mind that B were going to catch C, like by the way the race was playing
quite obvious, wasn't it? With
so
about five odd to go.
Why is he going to go? And he has to make such an effort just to get across. I think Bill Tafe went as well to try and go with him. Obviously, Ashley Bennett Freeman, but why not just wait another half a lap?
And not only that, he went off the front of C grade for a whole lap on his own, if you remember. Sure. So before B grade, or just as B grade were catching, I think he saw it at the circle, he said, Squircle, and he went. And so he came up that straight and he had probably a good 4 or 5 seconds on the C-B grade group. But, it wasn't the right decision. But he's a young kid, right? And he's just chucking all his cards on the table and having a crack, and I reckon it's bloody good.
John, we also had a number of either first time of the season or first time riders. Because I know there was a few female riders. There was an Irish rider or something, I think was...
Gabrielle Fox. She just popped up out of nowhere day before the race and wanted to come down to Heffron on her Irish racing license, and that's no problem, providing you got a race license. And she was telling me after the race that I said, "Oh, so what are you doing in Australia?" I thought she might be a student just visiting. She says, "Oh, I've come out to ride my bike," and we don't have many crits at home in Ireland, where she comes from. Rides for the Marymount Club. Can't remember the name of it. It's in the start list. And she said, "We just don't have many crits." And she said, "I loved it. And I can't wait to come back." So hopefully we're going to see a bit more of
Greenmount Cycling Academy, I think is who she's riding for.
Greenmount Cycling Academy. That's it.
She wasn't the only international kind of legend we had there. We obviously had saw a few World Tour stars on the sidelines. Matt Dinham of the team now. He's Team DSM still, isn't it? They haven't changed their name. He was on the sidelines.
Yeah, I was I was very pleased to see Matt coming down to watch, and I would have been more excited had he come down with his kit and his bike, because he's no stranger to Heffron. Because as we all know, anyone who races in the Pro Tour, their careers really started at Heffron.
That's right, and that's why we saw Hugh Harvey on the start line. That's why we had Hugh Harvey on the sideline.
Yeah, we had Hugh.
Arkea Samsic rider. Was Brodie on the sidelines?
No, Brodie's up in Brisbane. She's made her annual visit to Heffron last week to support her partner Bon. And that was Hugh Harvey's second race in 3 days in Sydney. And his father told me the other day on Sunday when I was down at the Shimano Supercrit that he's only racing 2 races in Australia. So it was the Supercrit and Tuesday night Heffron. So thanks for coming down and supporting local racing, Hugh. It's a pity you can't get some of your other mates to come along and join us. Not mentioning any names, Braden, but
quickly on the females, we Amanda Poulsen was classy for the girls. Nicole O, I think, was second female, and just going through the list
would be Nicole Wilson.
Nicole Wilson.
Yep. And then obviously had Izzy Newell as well, and the Irish international. So, but Benny Glastonbury gets it, but unfortunately his big win, and even the ride of Greg Rule, which would normally we'd probably have an hour or two to talk about, that was overshadowed by the 47th edition of the trophy race. Only last week, John, you were saying how difficult it was to win the trophy race, but also the glorious list of riders who find their names
Oh,
on.
massive. So just before we start talking about the trophy race, we must mention the C grade winner in the handicap race, who, of course, who was Nico Love.
Nico
His
Love.
first
Yep.
season, relatively new to cycling, and Nico's he's been going really, really well, and podium spot has just kind of been eluding him. But he felt he did it quite easy on Tuesday night in the tougher conditions, and I think that really suited him. So not only did he pick up the C grade win, he was a top 10 and eighth as well. And
Yep.
then Joel Zub, who's been racing really well, he was second. And then I think, oh, look who was third in C grade.
Mr.
Michael Stanton.
Consistency, Michael Stanton. It was remiss of me not to do that podium. So it's very good. That was the top three. The top three females were obviously, just as Vaughan very briefly mentioned, Amanda Poulsen in first place. Second place was Nicole O, just edging in behind her. And third was Nicole Wilson. And the first three B graders of the line who made up the first three finishes were, of course, Ben Glastonbury of CPAC. Their huge turnout, well rewarded for Centennial Park. Second was Greg Rule of East, the East domination, and shows why they're the #1 club at the moment. And then, of course, Adam McCoy. Pretty much almost a return to real racing for Adam. He hasn't been a while,
Yeah,
but he
he
brings up
2
the
weeks in a
Hydra
row. He's
Play
done so well.
team there.
Yep.
So he is coming back with a vengeance. So then after they'd rolled out, off we rolled for the 47th race. A huge field. I think we had 38 starters.
Yeah, 38 on the start line. We had about 40 plus entrants. There were a couple of no-shows, and 20 laps because it's a monument, so it's that extra distance. And I can tell you, and from my own experience, and the riders will also attest to that, extra 5 laps does hurt. It really, really does. And the extra 5 laps also creates a fantastic atmosphere, because you can see that in the photo in the background, because there's the 70 odd riders that were in the previous race. They've all finished their event and they're standing on the sideline supporting the elite riders. But yeah, that was as tough and as hard as any other monument that I can recall at Heffron. The attacks and the moves were going from the gun.
So before you get to that, for what was Crafty and yourself saying, with no Kurt Ether, pre-race, who are you guys picking as the potential winners?
Well, one thing I will quickly mention is Angus Calder called it right from the get-go. He said there'll be a break of 3 or 4, which will go to the line. So Chapo, hats off to Angus for calling it. We were looking around that sort of Brad Mills. He's been really consistent all year. I thought Bon was looking really good. And then you've got Hugh Harvey. Like, he's a world tour, rider, and he's got an amazing sprint on him. But hats off to Calder for calling it early and saying, yeah, there's going to be a breakaway of 3 or 4, and that's going to go to the line. So it was pretty epic.
Yeah, I thought early on, once we've been doing a few laps, and I was kind of watching the race go on, I thought, this is Mick Cupitt's night. He's going to go solo and he'll win, 20 seconds on the bar. But
everyone was working pretty smoothly, doing pretty even turns. So, and then, it was sort of 3 to go, 2.5 to go. I started lighting it up a bit, and then, we had such a big gap that we had a bit of rope to play with. So, the only way I can really win here is try and get away. But it didn't happen today.
And I assume he was the favourite pretty much the entire time in the breakaway of Brad Mills with his form lately in his sprint.
But it was his teammate, though, Jeff Rickards, who lit the first firework, I suppose you'd say.
Oh, wow. Did he what? My God, Big Jeff.
Doesn't get a lot of raps, Jeff, but the man has a motor.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he went with what? He went quite early in the race. Like, it was
very early in the race. There's some great images of his move. And I'm just trying to recall who he took with him initially.
So, well, he was out there by himself for a good while. And then I believe Miller got across, Cupitt got across, and there was one other rider. Now that's really gonna disappoint me that I can't remember.
Joshua Ludman, I think, was
Ludman.
in one of those earlier moves as well.
3, actually, don't know. And Millsy. Because I think it only ever got to about 4 or 5, didn't it?
Yeah, were a couple of other moves early that sort of went away and came back and went away and came back. I mean, in that the first and second lap were their fastest laps, and they were hooting. The top speed down the back straight was 63.2 kilometres per hour. Massive, massive numbers. The little lull that we had when the B grade and C grade crash happened, I heard from quite a few guys this morning saying that, A grade just took the gas off for a bit, and that then sort of just, there's a really great photo again where it just sort of all sort of regrouped again. But before that, it was strung out for those first 4 or 5 laps.
I think even Dave Evans went off there in chasing and was lighting up the crowd there, obviously wanting to get across to the break and also ensure that he beat his son home when it came to the final finishes. But in the end, the 3 riders pretty much had established play with that. Do you think it was 5 to go? It was clear they'd got it?
Yeah, a little bit before that. I just wanted to add too, because it's the one of the monuments, the stronger B grade riders are always invited to have a go with the A graders. I think we had about 7. I want to congratulate all those riders for stepping up and putting themselves in the mix. None of them made it to the finish, but that doesn't diminish their effort in at least starting. And I think they found out, well, it was a particularly tough night as well, but they found out just how tough A-grade racing is.
Did Adrian Pellegrin not finish?
I don't think so. He was in there with about 3 or 2 to go.
Wow.
Well,
okay, because he was the rider.
Let me jump in there. With 2 laps to go, Pellegrin went off the front.
He did a massive, massive turn down into the wind.
Yeah,
absolutely
into the wind.
Massive.
And I
think he might have. Yeah, and that's why he may have crossed the line, but it was after I.
Okay, fair enough. Because I also, now that we're discussing it, he was actually one of the riders as well who was animating early, and I think almost trying to go across to that initial break. Right. So he's obviously backed himself and going, look, he wanted to see if he had the legs to ride A grade, and he certainly proved it on the night.
Oh, well, he's been in there for 2 weeks, and he hasn't.
Right,
and he has done himself a huge service and competing with the best and mixing it with the best and having a go, which is impressive. So well done, Adrian.
And one other quick one, just Tommy Hyde again shared his data with me. Thanks, Tommy. And the most interesting thing, I spoke about his heart rate, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, about how hard that race was. So he got PB heart rates for his 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, and 20 minutes on Tuesday night. And so his 20-minute average heart rate was 189 beats per minute. And he didn't finish the race. He said he was hitting 400 watts just trying to keep up every time down the back straight. He said that he'd get on and then it would be like into the headwind trying to hide the best he could. Chapeau to all those boys, as you said, John, who stepped up from B grade and had a crack in A grade. It was very good to watch.
Yeah, it was really great to see. And those riders were Riyad Ignash, Robbie Allen, Toby Aubrey Pointer, Richie Brooks, Josh Curl, Robbie Crichton, Rab Drummond. Good ride, Rab, as one of the younger riders. He thought he'd see if he could mix it. Tommy Hyde, who you just mentioned. And I think that was it. So there were 7 of them all together.
So Tom Hyde, he probably just for Christmas wants to go and see a heart specialist.
Yeah,
just to see.
Well, the week before he was away in San Francisco, so being away for a week before the trophy race is not ideal preparation. So Tommy, you really got to sort your work stuff out if you want to be you want to perform well at Heffron.
What I liked about the race there on Tuesday night, and because it is a standalone, when they got to that 1 or 2 laps to go, they could really start just almost playing around with the 3 riders at front. They could slow down, they could look at each other. It wasn't like that, they had a grade to catch. And so it made it a much more different spectacle as well, particularly when they hit that last lap, as all 3 of them knew they had the time to play some games. And so now the cat and mouse could begin.
Yeah, and it's the first time in a monument we really do see these guys race like properly, because in the weekly handicap, they're just it's just a massive swap off. They don't have any time to weigh up their options. And just you guys were saying before how with about 5 or 6 to go, it looked obvious that the break was going to stay away. And the only person who was trying to get it back together again. I think he had a couple of goes with Hugh Harvey, but I think it was too little, too late. And I'll be honest and say that Hugh has always had the odds stacked against him. The riders that turn up week after week, they feel they own that circuit and they own that race. And as good as you are, Hugh, they're not going to give it to you, buddy. I'm sorry. I can also tell you that had Hugh been in the break, I don't think the break would have stayed away either. Just putting that out there. But
it just shows you
well
how
done.
strong those guys are, though. That they're
Yeah.
able to go, we're not going to let the guy who wants to be in the World Tour get away. We'll mark him, hold his wheel. And then I think it was Brad Mills after the line. He was pretty emotional. He was pretty happy when he did manage to get the kick over Cupitt and Miller. I think he said this was the 26th time. Was it 26th time?
Millsy's been racing at Tuesday Night Heffron since 1999. So let's say 25 years. And he's had his fair share of wins. He's had a couple of overall wins on handicap nights. He's had a few A-grade wins, most recently a few weeks ago. But he's never won a monument. And I know from my own relationship with him, he has always coveted winning the Joseph's Memorial race. But equally, he has always coveted getting his name on that trophy as well.
On behalf of Brad Mills, I'd like to thank the first aid and give us some words, mate.
I don't even know what to say. I wanted to win this race for 25 years. And about 6 laps to go, I knew we had it. I just had to stay there. I knew Miko was going to smack us hard for the last couple of laps and try and get away, and I just had to follow them and grit my teeth and wait for the sprint. And I can't fucking believe this.
And he admitted, I think, when we were doing the presentation, that he thought that was it. Last year, my chance, I'm never going to win this damn thing. I'm never going to win a monument. And he's been in breaks before over the years. He's been in 3-man breaks, 5-man breaks. He's got second, he's got third, he's got fourth, every place but first. And he was going to celebrate that win, which you can see behind us in that photo. And I can tell you there's a lot of raw emotion in that photo. And I even got a message today from someone on one of the posts. Best cycling photo ever, and it's certainly one of the best cycling photos we've ever had at Heffron.
Yeah, it was special to have someone who it meant so much to win, the 47th edition there. He really was quite emotional afterwards. And I think that's also the power of Heffron. Like, it just shows those A-grade, that's how much they want to win, week in,
and as
week
everyone knows, I am quite busy, especially during the summer on a Tuesday and Wednesday. So I do get a few calls on a Tuesday before the race, and I certainly get a few after on Wednesday. But yesterday, I don't know what I was worn out more from, the big night Tuesday night managing the race, or the just a flood of messages on Wednesday. So yesterday morning, 9 o'clock, incoming from Carl Murray, big stretch in Auckland, who runs Rulia Cycles, rings me and says, I saw the video, what happened? And he was so excited. And he said, what's Mick Cupitt still doing out there? Because Stretch used to race with Mick. I was getting messages, another shout out to Washo down in country Victoria, got a bike shop down there. He's a friend of Mick Cupitt's as well. So it's amazing. And Millsy, being such an iconic, sort of almost legendary rider in Sydney for so many years, the outpouring of just joy on everyone's behalf for his win was fantastic to witness.
Yeah, he certainly was a popular rider. Sorry to interrupt you there, Vaughan.
No, you're right. I was just going to say, I was also really impressed with Chris Miller's ride, because with 5 laps to go, there was a bit of saliva coming down the side of his face. He was like chewing handlebars, and even Crafty was like going, he's going to get third out of these 3. Like, Chris is looking like he's in the absolute box. He basically opened up the sprint as they come onto the straight, and then Cupitt went flying past, and obviously Millsy then came flying past. But then to chase back on and still get up for second, I actually think that was a pretty epic ride by Chris Miller. they were churning some amazing laps. They were putting 10 seconds a lap into the chasers there for a while. Miller's was the only one I could get his power numbers. He averaged 318 watts for the entire bike race. So 20 laps at 318 watts. No wonder he was having a pain face. So chapeau to those three. It was such an exciting night, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Vaughan, on Chris's ride. I mean, we all know what Mick Cupitt can do, but Chris is, big shout out to him for his support of local cycling, for the energy and effort he puts into his weekly show, which I think, is just great to see that happen. He's got a massive following now, which he deserves, and he gets out there and he races, but doesn't just come out and race and sit in and enjoy the ride. He makes a massive effort to contribute. So well done, Chris.
And with that epic contributions and big rides, it is that time of the week. Char Grill Charlie's Rider of the Week. Possibly going to be our shortest ever discussion.
Well, yes and no, because I think we need to pick two riders of the week.
Two. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
look,
so we need
two
I
separate
think we
races.
need a char grilled chicken, char grilled Charlie chicken rider of the week for the handicap.
Okay.
And we need obviously one for the trophy. So two separate races, two riders of the week.
So, John, you've obviously got this on your mind. So tell us who is your rider for B and C grade. First of all, we'll do B and C, and then we'll come back.
I'm going for the newly appointed club president, Greg Rule. 40 years at Heffron. Still racing, still loving it, and took a flyer, and almost pulled it off. We kind of expect Ben Glastonbury to win an outright sprint because he's done it before, but we did not expect Greg Rule. And so hats off to you, Rawley, for having a go.
Vaughan?
Right. Well, I was going to say Greg Rule as well. I mean, Benny Gladstone, I'm going to buy him a big bottle of something anyway because I love him. I love the hairdo, and I think he's a good lad. But I'm with you, mate. Like Greg Rule's launch was just epic and made that bike race so exciting in those closing laps. So, Rule.
Yeah, look, fair enough. And of course, being the club president, he'll probably be kind enough to donate those vouchers back to the club. I think, look, I'll agree with this. When was the last time Greg Rule was on the podium?
I can't remember, actually.
1983.
I'd have to go back to 1987.
Jeepers. So
he basically got beaten by Spurs.
He basically got his money back now, though. Coming second in that race, that's paid for all his entries. He's now up.
He has.
I thought, though, there were a couple other really good rides. Phil Taff of Manly was 7th overall.
Oh, hey, I notice his name every single week. I'm glad you pointed Phil out. Phil's not built for Heffron.
No.
Ben Glastonbury is, Adam McCoy is, Greg Rule is. But he's up there every week.
He's doing
somewhere hiding in that sort of, where did he come? He came in 7th. Good ride also by Gil Garrett, his first time down at Tuesday night Heffron.
And I think second, and then 11th, John Papard. I think it could be his first race of the season.
And he raced last week.
I raced last week. Did turn his legs on. Very good.
Pepsi loves it. Pelicans.
Amanda Paulson, with those closing laps, I could see her sitting 3rd and 4th wheel, looking very comfortable. I mean, she, first race back at Heffron this season.
I got to tell you a funny story. When I was taking the finish line video of the BNC handicap race, I holding the phone up, and I can see this massive expression on Nicole's O's face. I thought, that's weird. What are you stressing for, Nicole? Your first woman. But she was about a half a wheel behind Amanda. And, of course, she was trying to roll Amanda before the line, but she didn't quite get there.
Didn't quite get there. So I thought, Amanda, she was 14th overall. That was a very strong ride. So just quickly scroll.
Actually, both Nicole and Amanda riding that race from B grade and finishing in that sort of top 15, big kudos to both of them, actually.
I would congratulate all the Randwick riders in C grade. They all rode very, very well. Big Rodrigo, he even turned up, did his turns as always. Morgs, he was riding very well.
Finishes every race without fail.
And Nicole Wilson made sure she made it to the finishing line.
Yeah.
And she rode a super strong C grade race. That would clearly was her ride of the year for her. But it is Greg Rule who is the B and C Chargrill Charlie's rider of the week. He gets
Yeah.
Well done.
he gets one drumstick and a small chips.
That's all he
because
needs, actually.
that's all
He doesn't want. So who are we going to start? Well, who's going to start on the 47th East Trophy Race Rider of the Week?
We'll
I mean,
start
this
with
is a tough
Vaughan.
one.
This is
so
a
tough.
tough one.
This is a tough one because the name Alex Summers pops up straight away in my mind.
It was
Because
actually
he's
wasn't
been
Alex
pestering me
Summers.
since Tuesday night because I mistakenly put him as a DNF and confused them with Dan Newman because they both had blue jerseys on. So I'm sorry, Alex. You are in the result list, and that's all you're getting. I'm just going to go out and say it. It's that guy right there.
Well,
this one.
you'd say that.
There it is. There it is. That guy
But
right
I spoke
there.
to Paul Kraft after the race, and he thought Ben Coates. He thought Ben Coates, the way he covered he made a bit of a late attack. He was there at the end. One vote for Ben Coates. I think the rest of though, it's a unanimous. We don't need to go around. It is Brad Mills, and I also would think if you didn't vote for him, I wouldn't want to see him in a dark alley. So congratulations, the winner
Someone
of
asked
the
Millsy
47.
the other day. Someone asked Millsy the other morning. They said, "Oh, how come how do you think it is that you're going so well this summer?" And he says to me that he replied by saying, "When people see me on a wheel, they think twice about taking the wheel off me." And so I always have a good position. And but that aside, well done, Millsy.
Brad
I
Mills,
think everyone, the
Chargrill
entire.
Charlie's rider of the
Chapo.
week.
Absolutely. The entire
Absolutely.
Tuesday night Heffron fraternity community, and it is a big one. You just got to look at the number of people standing on the sideline with massive grins on their faces as he crossed the line.
I can see a big, very happy Gino there in the background, actually,
Yeah.
smiling away. So, no, it was a fantastic night. I suppose that kind of leads us into last lap, final.
Bolted. Cupid. One more time. He looks over at the pause. They've been out there for 20 laps now. The bunch again on the outside. Adrian Gillibrand. One last effort. He's done so much work.
Thoughts, John? When are we back next season?
Back on the 21st of January.
Ooh, quite a delay. So quite a period of getting your legs turned over and ready to go.
Yeah, that sort of first week back around about the 10th or the 12th, we never had strong numbers.
Get caught up
On the
to it down
21st
under.
of January, we do hit the TDU week. So if you are planning on going to the TDU, it's quite simple. You go on Wednesday morning, and you miss.
There's a late flight out Thursday night. Oh, sorry,
Tuesday night. No, just go on the Wednesday morning.
It's 8 o'clock.
So it's the summer series, the Sydney City Skoda Summer Series for 2025 is January the 21st.
And Vaughan, you'll obviously be getting ready for your charity ride in February. But your thoughts? What were your takeaways from Tuesday?
Oh, mate, I've just had such a good time and had fun. Really want to say thank you to you guys and thanks to Crafty for letting me fill in on the bike while he was over travelling and riding his bike around Europe. I've had an absolute ball and I can't wait for 2025. And a massive thank you to my players, the Hydra players, and Robbie Allen for looking after the team while I've been having fun on the mic and on the barbecue.
Yeah. Barbecue was a success, by the way. Thank you to East Club member Warwick Edwards and his daughter Jess manning the barbecue on Tuesday night.
They put a Bunnings barbecue to shame.
Oh,
they certainly did. Barbecue wasn't too hot, but the sausages came out all right. Hey, I just came up with a quick thought. If we were to reflect on the first part of season 40, who are the four names that would stand out in terms of most impressive A grader, most impressive B grader, C grader, and woman?
Great question. Here I was thinking I'll be able to get this edited nice and quickly, but I think that's actually pretty clear. And that's also, that thought is our segue of people who love to watch the show. I would say Luca Zaccardi is probably the rider of the season so far.
Oh, okay.
Closely followed by the Challengers. So young
Yep.
Harvey, he'd be my second rider of the year. I'd say the form of Brad Mills would be number 3. And then I would say, look, who's that? Who's about? Oh, I mean, Nicole O, she just doesn't age. It's in the genes. However, Izzy's getting better. Oh, look, I actually thought the best female rider was probably last week's Hannah Gianetti.
Yeah.
As a standout rider, as memorable things that stand. But otherwise, I think they're all throw a blanket over the become point score series when it comes to the women. I mean, Nicole Wilson's clearly hitting some good form, judging by Tuesday night. Yeah.
So off the top of my head, I was thinking A grade, Kurt Ether, 4 races from 4 finishes. Shout out to Millsy for his, Indian summer, although it's not the end of summer, but he's in terms of the number of summers he's had, it's an Indian summer. In B grade, Adrian Pellegrin, first year at Heffron, turns up, wins second outright, then wins a B grade ride, steps up to A grade and rides impressively. Likewise with Luca Sukiati in his domination in his first 5 weeks in C grade and stepping up to B grade and still being on the podium. And then in C grade, young Harvey, outstanding. And Nicole O in the women's field because of her tenacity and ability to front up each week and fight it out is quite impressive. Vaughan, and your thoughts?
Yeah, mate, I'm with you with Kurt Ether. Like, you can't go past the number of wins and how dominant some of those wins were. Benny Coates needs to be a bit of a chapeau to him as well. In B grade, I want to give, and who's now in A grade, Ryan O'Keefe. I've really enjoyed watching him rip legs off and how good and strong he was on Tuesday. Holy moly, that guy's got some power. So he was awesome. Benny Glastonbury, 2 wins. Probably a good shout out to Chris Simpson as well. Like, he got that early win, went up to A grade.
And he hasn't disappointed.
Has not finished every race, I'm pretty sure, except for Tuesday night. The Pello Grin has been exciting. And then it is those young bloods. Yeah, the Zucchiardi and all those kids just been so good. Leif and Harvey and Nicole O. She's just class bike rider. And then, massive shout out to Izzy Newell, because I think, she's turning up every week. She's getting her ass kicked, but she's coming back for more, which I love to see.
And if you look at the photo behind us, just the right of Millsy, that's Izzy's mum and sister in the photo. And it's so great to see them down there on Tuesday night supporting her. So well done, Izzy.
It's funny when you say, like, who are your standout riders? Because then you're like, I completely had forgotten about Kurt Ether. It's like, my God.
Yeah, well, you can't not go past him, yeah.
And then you start going through and you thought, there's so many people who've had a good ride in the first half of this season. Dan Newman.
Yep.
Yes.
Michael Stanton in C grade. Joel Shube.
Yep. Yeah.
Look at who else we got in. Who else?
Nico Love.
Nico Love. Yeah, Nico Love.
Actually, my line ball, he deserves a big mention for C grade because if it wasn't for Harvey's 3 wins in a row in C grade, you have to give Nico a shout out just on the basis that he of his finish on Tuesday night. So well done.
The entire Allen family.
Yeah, look that's right. But also look how well Robbie Allen's riding. Yeah. But then you've got the other guys who turn out. Look, Baz Doozy. Rupert was there on the start line again. So look, there's plenty of riders who are enjoying themselves, and I'm sure building to a bigger and better 2025 point score series. The other thing we can do, though, is I realize this is our last one before Christmas. And so if you haven't got a gift for your loved one, simply send them the link to these podcasts. And I just think, that's your Christmas present solved. I know my wife would love if I said to her, Christmas Day, let's just sit down, watch a podcast.
Back to back.
Let's get a bit of trifle, get a bit of Christmas cake, put it up on the big screen, just like. And I'll say the Challengers do it. Look at them. We got set a photo, which is up on the big screen now.
That's right. And I'll tell you who else does it, the Coates family. So my moment of fame was on Sunday night down at the Southern Cross Supercrit. And this lady walks up to me. She said, "You're John, you're John." And it was Benny Coates' grandma. And I said, "Oh, you're our number one viewer."
Gold.
I think almost like where you watch, getting a photo, people to send in, just like Elf on the Shelf. It can basically be like, where do you watch the podcast? You can have some guy sitting in his office pretending to work. Someone will be in a bike shop with it on the big screen. Other ones, the whole family sitting around, some long-suffering partner with their head in the sand. That really should be the new Christmas tradition. But yeah, look, send them the subscription, the link to our podcast.
Tuesday Night Podcast.
Think of a better gift that you can give. And with that, perhaps we can say we'll round it out for 2024. And until the January 21st,
see you next
Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're back racing in the new year on the 21st of January. Have a happy and safe Christmas. Thank you for supporting the beginning of our 40th season of Tuesday Night Heffron, and see you in 25. In first place, the winner of the race and the 2024 Trophy Race Champion, Brad Bloody Mills!
Don't drop that too.
It's pretty good. You all right there?
Ladies and gentlemen, please show your respect to the podium and your trophy race champion, Brad Mills.